Good morning, good morning, good morning. Hope you're doing well. So we are approaching kind of championship season, the last 3, 4 weeks or whatever of cross country. We're essentially 4 weeks away from NCAA's. Okay, we've got states coming up. We've got regionals, NXR, NXN, and so on and so forth. So I want to talk about one thing today, and that's tapering and peaking for championship season for cross country. There's a lot of definitions and a lot of interpretations to this, but I want to share with you what I've used at the high school and college level with a lot of success over the last 2 decades as a coach, and give you some of my insights from my experience. And I'd love to know what your thoughts are too. So if you're a coach or an athlete, it's your first time here, welcome. If you haven't hit that like button, please do that. If you haven't subscribed, please do that. I go live every single Sunday, and love to learn from other athletes and coaches too. We can learn from each other. So tapering and peaking, a couple of things I want to emphasize too. Depending on how far out you go for taper and peaking, I generally base it off of how long the season was and how often we raced and how much you did over the summer leading up to the cross country season. Because some folks didn't really run much over the summer. This happens all the time. And they wind up doing a lot during the cross country, even to a degree, racing themselves into shape. Well, the taper for them, in my opinion, has got to be treated a little bit differently than folks that have raced the entire summer. Run the entire summer and put forth a good season worth of racing in cross country. And again, it doesn't have to be a lot of races. I understand in high school you race a lot more than you do in college. I get that. Okay, but picking and choosing your racing can help determine how effective you can be in a taper and how aggressive you can be in a taper. But there's a couple things that remain. Okay, I talk about this a lot. Whether you're increasing or decreasing volume or intensity, there's got to be an adjustment period. It's periodization. That's what they call it. Okay. It takes about 3 to 4 weeks to adapt to an increase in training volume. Meaning, if let's just say you're at 30 miles a week, now you want to bump it up to 35 or 37 or whatever. You bump it up and you stay there for a couple weeks. You have to get used to it before you go up. And even as a rule of thumb, me for high school, I generally don't go more than 6 or 7 miles per week every year. So I generally go, let's just say you go 5 miles a day in high school for cross country, and even in track too. Okay. I generally don't vary the volume that much. 5 miles a day, 6 days a week. That's 30 miles a week as a freshman. Then I bump it up to 6 miles a day, but I have a day off every other week as a sophomore. So now you go 42 and 7 days and 32 and 36 and 6. Then I bump it up to 7 miles a day as a junior, 49 and 7, 42 and 6. And then 8 miles a day as a senior, 56 and 7, 48 and 6. Just as a ballpark number, just so you can, you can kind of visualize how the progression takes place. At least for me, you do it as you see fit. Some people need a little bit more, some people need a little bit less. That's up to you to decide. That's where coaching with the eye is so important, right? You know your athletes better than anybody else. Okay, but that thing remains. Okay, there's got to be an adjustment period no matter what, and a couple other things remain too. Okay, I generally follow a 3-week taper. But what I do is I drop the weekly volume about 20%, and then I stay there for the last 3 weeks. Okay, so if let's just say you're at 50 miles a week, you drop it down to 40 or so, and you stay there. Okay, or if you're at 60, you drop it down to 46, 48. You're at 70, you drop it down to 55, and so on. If you're at 40, you drop it down to the low 30s. You don't need to drop volume every single week, and you don't need to increase intensity every single week while you're dropping volume. Okay, that can throw you out of rhythm. It can throw your athlete's legs out of rhythm. That's the last thing you want to do is experiment with that type of stuff during championship season. If you're not doing it all year, then I wouldn't be experimenting during championship season. Okay, maintaining your diet without any major change. What do I mean by that? Well, once you start tapering a little bit and increasing intensity, and I'll get into the increased intensity, okay, because this is something that goes along with that too, as a caveat. The appetite can change. You can start to become more hungry for more hearty food, right? More frequently. And this is where I would maintain your diet, especially if you have a good one. Okay. Don't eat more right now. I would not do that. Okay. Easily digestible foods before workout or before a race, and then you can load up on protein afterward to muscle repair and recovery. Okay, so maintaining the diet without any major changes is really, really important during your 3-week taper. And I would avoid, like I said, avoid experimenting during this taper period. Avoid experimenting with new shoes or spikes or whatnot. Okay. Avoid experimenting with changes in your warm up, changes in your strength training, anything like that. Consistency is key. And you doing it way back, in the summer and you leading into cross country or starting an early cross country season sets you up for success towards the late part of the season. Okay. That's the whole point of the taper. Doing what you do, whatever you do before that sets you up to do or to maximize or take advantage of a taper. And if anybody has any questions, put them right in the comments. I'll answer questions live time. Now, again, keeping on. Okay. Stay within the pace ranges of your goal races. Okay. Particularly with the equivalent chances. This is where I can't emphasize this enough. I give a lot of pace ranges, right? So, if you haven't seen it, go take a look at it. This is what you can run for 3K and 5K based on what you run for a mile, and 800, 400, and so on and so forth. Why do I do that? So that you know that you're training in the right pace ranges. Okay. Your athletes are training in the right pace ranges and not going beyond. What do I mean by that as well? Let's just say in high school now you're 5K, your 5K is telling you you're ready to break 10 minutes for the 2 mile. Great. Then I would be doing more stuff at 3K or 2 mile pace at that sub 10-minute pace. I would not try to start doing 9:30 stuff, 9:40 stuff right now, because you won't be recovering it from it the same way as you would the paces that are appropriate for your 5K and your mile and 3K, right? Staying in the right pace ranges, make sure you're in a position to continue to develop moving forward and continue to recover moving forward. Remember, recovery is a part of this training too. Okay, staying within your pace range. And again, if you're doing more 3K pace stuff in the taper, more mile pace stuff in the taper, it still acts as increasing intensity of your training. You're just staying within the right zones. And I can't emphasize how important that is. Okay. And then consistency in your tapering retains the same philosophy as increasing volume intensity training. Like I said, if you're going to increase volume, stay there. Okay. If you're going to increase intensity, make sure you have a race or a time trial that justifies that you're ready for it. Okay, that's what I mean. If you're ready to break 4:30 for the month, that doesn't mean start trying to do 4:10 mile workouts because you have a couple teammates who are going 4:10. Stay in your zone. Okay, that sets you up to recover and continue to make improvements in your events. Okay, and again, speed development all year round makes it easier to transition smoothly from cycle to cycle. Right, I talk about this speed development even in the summer, right? Starting in July, and how you implement speed development varies. Okay, in the most basic form in July, then you build on that. And then you incorporate it in different areas during the cross country season. So speed development is important all year round. And again, it makes it easier, like I said, to go from, let's just say you have a 12-week cross country season. You break it up into 3 cycles of 4 weeks each, or 4 cycles of 3 weeks each. It's up to you, right? It makes it easier to transition from one cycle to the next. Okay, and recover at the same time. Speed development it always keeps your legs under you, so you can start to transition and do faster stuff, right? If you're going from, let's just say, tempo and threshold in the first cycle of the season, now you start incorporating that tempo and threshold with some race pace stuff in the middle of the season, then you're doing race pace and faster stuff at the end of the season. Speed development makes it easier to transition from one phase to the next. Okay, I can't emphasize it enough. Now, let's get right to the nitty gritty here. Let's start the high school taper. Okay. These are just examples, by the way. You can modify as you see fit. Okay, obviously the schedule remains. I generally put forth a Tuesday, Friday workout schedule on a non-race week, and then a Tuesday workout on a week that you're racing. Let's just say you're racing Friday or Saturday. The workout's Tuesday. If you need to modify the days, as you do that as you see fit as a coach. But I'm just using this as an example. 3 weeks out, the Tuesday workout as you run a 2K at your goal 5K pace. You need to know what it feels like to run a long rep at your goal 5K pace, right? At this point, you should be at your fittest and ready to do these types of things. You take a 5 to 6 minute active recovery, and you do 3 times a K. With a 2-minute recovery, you progress from 5K pace. Maybe you try to run your last rep as close to 3K pace as possible. That workout alone, right there, 5K worth of volume, okay, but right locked into the pace or faster than pace. Okay. Then let's just say Friday, you work out. It's 7 to 8 times the 600 with a 2-minute recovery at 3K pace, at the 3K pace equivalent to what you're trying to run in the 5K. Okay. Or you race. Could be states or it could be NXR, whatever it might be for that point. Give you two options. So the races Friday is usually at this point. The races are usually Saturday. The workout itself would be Friday. Okay, and then 2 weeks out, or the week before, then you're gonna do a mile again at 5K pace, maintaining that long rep. Okay, at your goal pace, really helps put you in a position to go out harder and maintain pace. A lot of people go out hard and then they fall back or settle in and let people pass them. You don't really have to do that. These long reps help negate these types of things. So a mile at 5K pace, goal 5K, the same 5 to 6 minute active recovery. Then you can do 3 times an 800. Okay, with a 2 minute recovery. But now we're not progressing from 5K to 3K pace. We're doing a 3K pace. Okay, and then you can do 2 times a 400 at mile pace. Let's just say 1 minute recovery or a 90-second recovery. That's Tuesday's workout. And again, that's 10 or 11 days out from your goal race. So this is the type of workout you want to have in your legs. Okay, about 10, 11 days out. And then the Friday of the week before, it's a 2 mile tempo, 6 minute recovery. And then you run 800, 600, 400, 300. 3 minute recovery after each one. You progress from 3K pace down to 800 meter pace. Just a little bit of speed development after a tempo run. The tempo run still simulates the aerobic component of the workout. Okay, sustaining a pace for an extended period of time. And then the 8-6-4-3 allows you to accelerate when your legs are already tired, which is going to do what? It's going to simulate the last part of a race, right? That's for Friday before. Or if you race Saturday, you race Saturday. Okay, that's the week out, week before. Now, race week, we just do light threshold work. Okay, at this point, the work should be done. There's nothing you can really do at this point to put the finishing touches on what you should have been doing the entire season. Okay, this is something that's just going to keep your legs under you, ready to attack championship. Let's just say it's states or what? No, on high school, so it's states or NXR, right, or NXN. So 4 times an 800 at threshold pace with a 1 minute recovery. So you slow it down, and then you do a fifth 800 at 3K pace, just to finish accelerating hard, right? Then you take a 2 minute recovery and then you run 1 300-meter rep fast. That's it. Okay. That's the workout. And then Saturday, go time, baby. It's race. So this just gives you an idea of what a taper, what it looks like, at least for me. If you have any questions, again, put them in the comments. Okay. I want to give you a semblance of consistency. You have that long rep there, and then you have a progressively faster second component of the workout. And you go from 5K pace to 3K pace 3 weeks out, then 3K pace 2 weeks out, then threshold the race week of. Okay. That's a simple taper. And again, you modify it as you see fit for yourself and for your athletes. This is a nice little taper. And again, dropping the volume with 3 weeks out and staying there 2 weeks out, staying there race week. Okay. This is where a lot of folks get caught up, because if you drop volume every single week, you're not going to have enough time to adapt to the dropping of the volume. And a lot of folks will drop volume and increase intensity at the same time. You got to be careful there. You got to be very careful. You need time to adapt to these types of things. Okay. This sets you up to have a semblance of consistency, like you hopefully you've been having all year. It still maintains that same component. Okay, now that's the high school taper. How about college? Okay, similar philosophy remains. 3 weeks out, you do a 2 mile rep. Okay, obviously warm up drills and strides and so on, and the rest of the week as you see fit. But this is the Tuesday 3 weeks out. And college races for the most part are Saturday, especially during championship season. For the most part, 2 mile rep at 8K to 10K pace, a goal. Rest 5 to 6 minutes. Always active recovery if you can, at least some of it. Then you do 5 times 1K with a 2 minute recovery at 5K pace. Okay, 5 times a K at 5K pace. That's your workout. So it's about 5 miles worth of volume. You still maintain race distance here. That's Tuesday. Then Friday, you either do 8 times an 800 with a 2 minute recovery at 5K pace, which again, 5K pace still acts as speed development for 8K and 10K, right? So, or you race on Saturday or Friday. That's 3 weeks out. Okay, I'm giving you the early week workout and the late week workout or race. 2 weeks out, You're going to do that 2 mile rep again. Ideally, you want to try to either maintain that same intensity or pace that you ran last time, or run a little bit faster and hope to recover better from it. Okay, and again, like I said, at this point, you should be at your fittest. You should be able to handle these types of workouts. Stuff that's going to simulate what the race scenario is going to be putting forth. Okay, so 2 mile at a goal 8K to 10K pace, same 5 to 6 minute recovery, and then you're going to do 6 times a 600 at 5K pace to 3K pace, take a 2 minute recovery after each rep. Okay, that's the workout. Got your long rep, and you have your medium reps there at 5K, 3K pace. So get a little bit faster this week. Okay, for the second part of the workout. Then your secondary workout, if it's Friday, you do a 2.5 mile tempo, 6 minute recovery, and then you do an 8, 6, 5, 4, 3. 800, 600, 500, 400, 300. So we added the 500 here as opposed to the 8, 6, 4, 3 in high school. Take a 3-minute recovery. Progress from 3K down to 800-meter pace. Again, this is a week from your workout. A week from your key race. That Friday, or your race. Let's just say this could be regionals 2 weeks out, and then it can be nationals the week out. Or it could be conference 3 weeks out, and then race week could be regionals. Whatever is, fits into your schedule. But this is 2 weeks out here. Okay. And then race week, 4 times 1K is your Tuesday workout with a 1-minute recovery at threshold pace. And then you're going to do a 5th 1K rep, but it's going to be a 5K to 3K pace. Just one of them. Take a 2-minute recovery, and then you're going to run another 300-meter rep fast Tuesday. So the majority of the workout's at threshold pace with a touch of something fast at the end. And then goal race, baby. Race week. And again, the same thing applies. Oh, before I go any further, we got a comment. We got a question here. Morgan, how you doing, man? Your athlete's been averaging 47 to 50 miles per week the past month. Should you go down in volume at this point? Last race will be November. So you got what? 3 weeks left? Good morning. 47 to 50 for the past month. In how many days, Morgan? 6 days or 7 days? How many days a week is he running? Or she? So does that make sense with the college peak, the college taper? 6 to 7 days. Okay. So I would be averaging the same amount of mileage, just as a rule of thumb, I would average the same amount of mileage per day if you run 6 or if you run 7. So for instance, if you're running 6 days, I would do it. Let's just say 50s and 7 days. That's 7 miles per day. Now I would do 42 to 43 in the 6-day week. So you're averaging the same amount of mileage per day. So what I would do at this point is drop it down to, you have 3 weeks left, drop it down to 6 per day instead of 7 miles. So now you drop it down to 42 in 7 days, 36 in 6 days, right? It's about 15 to 20% drop, and I would stay there. And then think about the volume in high school too. You don't have to have these. If your volume's not high enough, you don't need massive volume drops. Okay. Keep that in mind as well. If you go from 40 to 20, you might not be able to sustain a 3-week taper. If you run 6 days a week, then if he's running 50 now, I would cut it to 42. If he's running 47, I would cut it to basically 40. Right around there. If it's 6 days. So that's what I would do. If you're sticking with 6 days, then I would do 40 to 42 miles. And so if you're going from 47 to 50, I'd drop it down to 40 to 42. So about that. And then stay there for the last couple of weeks. That way he can adapt to the lower volume and stay there. And then you can put the finishing touches on the training, right? Last week I would not make any. I would just decrease the intensity. I would keep the volume relatively the same. The volume's not high enough to justify a massive drop in weekly mileage. It really isn't. If that makes sense. Even a race week, I would just do the workout Tuesday and then the race. I'd cut back on the intensity. Any strength training, I would, move, get rid of that week. Any of the superfluous stuff, any of the ancillary stuff, I would get rid of that week. Okay. No strength training the week of. I would just focus on resting, diet, stretching, and so on and so forth. Any way you can recover, I would do that. But I would not experiment with it. I mean, at least me. I mean, it's up to you to decide. You're the coach, but I would not experiment with a massive drop in volume the week of if you have never done it before. I got you, Morgan. You're welcome. I'm glad you found it helpful. So back to the college taper again. Here it is. And again, if you're running, let's just say you're running 70 miles a week, you cut it down to 55 or so. You're running 60, you cut it down to 48, and so on. Right? About 20%. If the volume's higher, I mean, if you're at 80, drop down to 60 and stay there for the last 3 weeks or something like that. And in that, I mean, you'd be surprised at how fresh you'd feel, how fresh you would feel, or your athletes would feel. You drop it and stay there, and then you can put the finishing touches of the workouts. And again, the taper, the consistency and staying there in the taper makes it easier to get these workouts in the legs. Makes it easier to get your legs behind you, so you can make these types of workouts a little bit easier to do, if that makes sense. But this is your college taper. Okay, and again, you modify it as you see fit, right? It's really up to you to decide what you want to do in terms of the taper. But I generally, it's that's what I followed, and it's what I've kind of come up with over the last 2 decades as a coach, and it's worked with success. It's completely up to you to decide how you want to incorporate it, how you want to deploy it. If something you're doing right now is working, stick with it. Stick with it. Maybe you'll find the workout here that you like. But I like to keep that long rep component in there, 3 weeks out and 2 weeks out. And then I always like to do threshold the week of, finishing with a strong rep at the end. That generally keeps the legs under the athletes. It doesn't take anything away from their sharpness the weekend of the big race. Because that's when you want the big effort to be that week. Right? And keep this in mind too. A lot of times you're transferring the effort from the Tuesday workout, which is generally, it could be the burner for the week. You want the major effort to be on the weekend during championship season, right? So how you kind of transition the training is really up to you. But again, I can't emphasize it enough. What you do leading up to that point is going to determine how effective you can have a taper, how effective you will be in a taper. And again, if you haven't really done much over the summer, you spent the cross country season kind of racing yourself into shape. This is where I would not be that focused on a taper. I will continue to try to just build fitness. But if you've done a full summer and you're kind of methodically putting forth a good cross country season, you can be a little bit more aggressive and more methodical with your taper now. Let me know if that makes sense. Okay, again, what you do in the seasons leading up to it helps determine what you do season afterward. So again, what you do in the summer helps decide how you can strategically put forth your cross country. How well you run a cross country determines how well you can have success in the track season. This stuff carries over if you do it the right way. If you do it the right way, if you're consistent, it compounds. It compounds. You build gradual fitness, right? Over the months, over the seasons. Okay. Any other questions, folks? Good to see you, Morgan. Any other questions? These are good questions too. This is one reason I do these live streams, so that questions can be answered. I want you to have access to somebody who's done it as a competitive athlete and somebody who's done it as a coach. I want to go to the sectional. A lot of runners. Multi Kenny. Sorry to hear it, man. How about your boys, Multi Kenny? It's I do you know I have a crazy story. I don't know if I've ever told you this, but there was a college team in NCAA's. They were ranked second in the country, Division One. I don't remember. It might have been a decade ago. That the night before NCAA's, they were ready to roll. They went and ate, and the entire team got food poisoning. The entire team. So the morning of, they were just jacked up, and they wound up coming in ranked second. They finished, I think, maybe 25th or 26th at NCAA's. Completely uncharacteristic. But then we found out later that they were all sick with food poisoning. It's like the worst time for it to happen, but completely out of your control. Who would have thought that the entire team would get food poisoning from a restaurant? Like, you would think that hopefully these people are going to have put forth good food. So, and in some cases, restaurants don't even know that the food's not contaminated or whatever. So, which is where I think a more stringent vetting process in terms of that is a good idea. So, but yeah, it's sorry to hear that they got sick. Boys out sick. Oh my gosh. It stinks being sick at the worst time, Multi Kenny. What's next for you? What's next for what's next in the after sectionals? I mean, do you have districts? Do you have states? Was that the state qualifier? What's next, Multi Kenny? Sorry to hear that everybody got sick. It's the worst, and that's the worst time. Like it's you spend so much time trying to keep your athletes healthy throughout the season, then all of a sudden someone's sick in school and gets everybody sick, and it's like, oh my god, it's almost impossible to avoid. It's almost like you have to wear a bubble in school, right? To be and you be quarantined always. That's not the way it should be, but it's unfortunately like there's cooties everywhere at school, and all that work you put in, it's like, oh my gosh, we're ready to go, and then all of a sudden everybody gets sick. I am sorry to hear that, Multi Cane. May they get better, may they recover, and put and be ready for either the great another great race or a great track season. Sectionals, a state qualifier. Sectionals, the gauntlet. Oh yeah, yeah. Okay. So does this mean your cross country season's over, Multi Kenny, or do you have something beyond now? Now that there's not states, are you doing NXR qualifiers or anything like that? Man, that's a bummer. That is a bummer. But just know your athletes are fit, right? You put in the work. Your athletes have put in the work. So them being sick, doesn't take anything away from the work that you've done up to this point. Well, sorry to hear it. So, I mean, if your season's over, you're going to rest them now and then just have an early start to start building up for track season, Multi Kenny. That's probably. I mean, if you get confirmation season's over, that's what I'd probably do. I'd recover now and then just take an early build into track season. Good. You should be based on those performances of your athletes. You should be excited. Yeah, you guys are ready and you girls are ready. You've done a good work this cross country season, man. You've done a good job. So I would be excited too if I had that many athletes running as well as you had. So I'd be excited too. And take these setbacks as opportunities. I hope your team does the same. You got us now, sickness, but we're gonna payback time during track season. We're gonna burn that track. We're gonna run so fast. So I think 800s or 1Ks 10 days could be what to be a better workout. I'm thinking about trying the workout you'd say for his athlete. High school athletes, 2 weeks out? Or do you mean 10 days out? It depends. Some of your athletes might need 800. Some of your athletes might need Ks, right? It really depends on what you see fit. You can break them up into groups, but I wouldn't 10 days out. I would not exceed race days. I would not exceed 5 times a K or 6 times an 800. You can even do 5 times an 800, and then on the back end put in a couple 300s to finish fast. If you're 10 or 11 days out, yeah. I mean, if you're running a 5K too, you can even do a 2K rep, 2K rep at your goal 5K pace. See how well they recover from it, and you can do a couple of 400s or something on the back end too. It's really up to you to decide. You can do a long rep to test your athletes just to make sure, okay, we're in line 10 or 11 days out. It's still enough time to recover from it for the next week's race. But I would not exceed either 5 to 6 times an 800 or 4 to 5 times 1K a week out. Yeah. Now you can even add some 200s or 300s or 150s on the back end. It's up to you to decide. But yeah, 10 days out, 11 days out, that's a good time to do that workout. This is at this point, Morgan, at this point, I mean, the work should have been done, right? So you're putting the finishing touches on the the training for the season. You really are. So there's really not much you can do at this point to gain fitness, but there are things that you can do to kind of set yourself back. So this is where you've got to be careful. The time for over distance and that type of stuff is early to mid season. Now is not the time. I would be at goal distance or below that. And you can even do, let's just say 5 times an 800 at 5K pace. Your last one's at 3K pace. 4 times a K at 5K pace. Your last one's at 3K pace. That's a good workout too. Yeah, that's what I would do, Morgan. I mean, I would do that type of workout Tuesday, and then the re-race Saturday, and then the state qualifying race the fall. So the week of, I mean, if it were me, I would do light threshold workout the week of. So that following Tuesday of your state qualifier, that's when I would do threshold work. That way, get the legs back under them, and I would finish it with something fast at the end. And that's it. You don't need to do anything more at that point. 4 times an 800 with a 1 minute recovery at threshold pace. And you do a couple of 300s or a fast 500-meter rep or something like that. Just one of them. At that point, just want to make sure that they're sharp. They want to make sure that they're healthy. Want to make sure that they're, ready to go for your state qualifier, Morgan. You're welcome. I hope I hope it helps you. I really do. But this is stuff I would not recommend it unless I found it with, I've utilized this stuff with success. So, and this is where a lot of folks have questions during the taper. And it's legitimate. There are legitimate questions. So how do you effectively do a taper? Like I said, in my experience, what you do over the summer and during your cross country season helps you decide how to taper, right? Have you baked the cake enough for long enough to put the icing on it at the end of the season? Kind of a corny analogy. I've used it before, but it reigns true. Right? And again, the big effort is a state qualifier Saturday. So threshold work the week of is always a nice workout to do with one fast rep at the end. Simulate accelerating 500 out, 400 out, whatever you want your athletes to do. Right? Any other questions, folks, before I wrap it up? Let you all go. And again, it's go time right now. We're approaching championship season. So now's the time to stay healthy. Now's the time to sharpen up. Now's the time to, focus on getting good rest. Your athletes getting good sleep, maintaining a good diet. Okay, what I would back off on the week of would be the strength training. Right? If you're doing lifting or whatever, I would back off the week of championships. Carter, how you doing, my man? How you doing? Well, thank you, man. Welcome to the channel. You have an athlete that's much better aerobically than speed. Okay, tell me more. Multi-can. I'll be doing lives. There's not much difference from cross and track. If you're still trained for the mile and 2 mile, you still have to do similar stuff that you do in cross country, but you're not training for the same distance every week, right? Or every time you race. So I want to be still doing lives track. Coming off cross country, people train for the mile, 2 mile, people train for the 4-8, people train for the 8 mile. All different types of lives. And again, indoor season is the longest season. So how to set up training and so on and so forth. So I'll be doing lots of different lives. Multi-can. If you have any requests, let me know and I'll be happy to accommodate. Carter, your athlete runs a 55, a 207, a 448, 1706. Focusing on speed for indoor. If he's a primary 800, so let me see. He runs 55 and 207. 448. Do you do tempo runs, Carter? Does your athlete do tempo runs? Because with a 448, you've got I'd say about 20 seconds of improvement in the 5K. With the 200, with the 800 and 207, you probably have a couple seconds of improvement in the mile. 55 is around accurate for the 207. Tempo's 6:15 pace. So now at a 4:48, I would be working towards, let me calculate this right now for you. I would be building, and how long are your tempo runs, by the way? That's another question. How long are your tempo runs? Uh, 4:48 mile. You want to base your tempo runs on what you run for the mile, right? So with the 4:48, lifetime calculations, baby. Okay, 20. That's that's the right pace. 6:15, you can get 4 miles at 25 minutes. I would not go beyond that. But now at a 4:48, um, I would start working towards 550 to 552 per mile, and that would work towards 20 minutes. Even if you need to stop, I mean, if you need to go 2 times 10 minutes first at 550 to 552 per mile, because that's the appropriate tempo pace for a 4:48 mile. That's going to help your 5K, your 2 mile. It's going to help your 8 and your 4 as well. Okay. And then I would be incorporating speed development at the most basic levels, obviously, but speed endurance 200s. That's another good workout. Okay. You do 8 to 10 times a 200. If you, let's just say 207, the next milestone is it's right around 2 minutes, right? So I would be working towards 8 to 10 times a 200 with a 90-second recovery at 30 to 31. And then once you feel 90 seconds is good, I would cut that rest down to 60 seconds and still try to run 30 to 31. And once you drop a few seconds in the 800, I would bring that down to 29 or 30 for the 200s. That's a good workout on the speed endurance side. Okay. At a 4:48, you're welcome. At a 4:48, you should be close to 10 minutes to 10:10 for 2 miles. I'd be doing 800-meter repeats at 2:30 to 2:32. Okay, with 2:30 recovery, basically 1-to-1 work rest ratio. That's your 3K pace. Try to build towards 5 of those. If you can get to 6, 2.5 to 3 miles worth of volume at 3K pace or 2-mile pace, that's a good VO2 max session. Okay, I'd be working the tempo run, and again, 550 to 552 is you're gonna have to adjust from 6:15, so you can build it. And I have videos here on how to build your tempo run to 20 minutes from scratch. You can even start at 2 times 8 minutes, and then the next time you do it, 16 minutes, and then you can do 2 times 10 minutes, and then you can do 20 minutes. You build towards the 20-minute distance at the goal pace you're looking to build. So that's the way of methodically building your tempo runs. That's going to set up your athlete, who he's got a good range there too. And this also sets you up to have a balanced training plan. Speed endurance 2 is you're doing VO2 max, you're doing tempo runs. This sets you up to run well in the mile, and then run well in the distances that are shorter, and run well in the distances that are longer. Right? Does that make sense, Carter? By the way, for those that are in here, this is my email. I always give my email address in the live streams. blackbeltrunningcoach@gmail.com. If anybody has questions of a training nature and you don't get a chance to ask them here, you can always send me an email. I'll be happy to respond to your email too. I do respond to emails. Okay. blackbeltrunningcoach@gmail.com. Sounds kind of corny, but running coach, I'm also black belt. I have a black belt in multiple arts and martial arts. So that's why I do that. So just makes sense to me. We're on 1646 and a 447, but your 800 is 213. Getting your down. I would work, and so extremely real videos. I would work on the speed endurance. I don't know if you heard, speed endurance 200s. Try that. Okay, with your mile and your 5K, you're probably strong enough to do them. So try to do 8 to 10 times a 200 with a 1-minute recovery, 60 seconds. And try to run them in, if you run a 213, try to run them in 31, 32 first. And once you drop down to 210, drop it down to 30, 31 per rep. This is a workout that you could do every couple of weeks. It's a good rhythm workout for the 800. And the more you drop in the 800, it's going to help your mile, which in turn will help your 2-mile, which will help your 5K. But that's a good workout too. And if you're not doing tempos, I would be building that tempo to 550 to 552 per mile. That's the pace for a 447 to 448 per mile. I would be building that tempo run too, because that'll help your 5K, that'll help your 800, that'll help your 2 mile and everything. So that those two workouts I would be incorporating into your training if you've not done that yet. Tempo runs, build towards 20 minutes, piece by piece if you need to, and then speed endurance 200s. Yeah, I mean, I appreciate the kind words, multi can. Yeah, I mean, I have regular dialogue with coaches and athletes. Send me emails. I'll give you feedback, constructive feedback. So, and I'm here to help. I'm here to serve coaches and athletes. The sport was good to me. I want to give back. I want you to have access to a coach. Because like I say this a lot. I mean, I know, like I've met Marcus O'Sullivan, but I can't just call him and expect him to pick up the phone, right? Or somebody, Mike Smith, Northern Arizona, formerly Northern Arizona, right? Diljit Taylor, some of the best coaches in the world. I can't expect them to just pick up the phone, right? So that's why I want coaches and athletes to have access to a coach who's also competing and coach at a high level, college, high school, and post collegiate. People like me can be very helpful, and that's exactly what I want to do. Extremely real. You're welcome. You're welcome. And keep bringing your questions. Again, don't hesitate to email me either. And again, for that, if you miss Extremely Real, this is my email, blackbeltrunningcoach@gmail.com. Okay. People can email me anytime. Any other questions, folks, before I wrap it up? Multi Kenny, get you ready for track, man. Get you ready for track. Get your athletes ready. You do the same thing, Multi Kenny. Keep up the good work. It's always a pleasure to have you on here. Pleasure to talk to you, and I'm glad I'm able to help. So keep up the good work. All of you, keep up the good work. And go have a great weekend, everybody. And we'll see you next weekend. Peace. Have a great Halloween, by the way.